folks, this is Levy Pate, and I'm here to talk to you about J. Frank Norris. Today we're going to be reviewing the book, The J. Frank Norris I Have Known by Dr. Louis Entzminger. So who was Dr. Louis Entzminger? He served under J. Frank Norris for many years as the Sunday school teacher for his church. It was one of the largest Sunday schools in the world. The publisher was Christian Book Gallery, and they published other biographies such as on Billy Sunday, John Wesley, and others. And kind of the approach this book takes in looking at J. Frank Norris can kind of be summed up in this quote. A man who has been hounded by the bloodhounds of hell, who has been maligned and slandered, and in many instances by good men, whose minds were prejudiced against him, and unjustly so. So who was J. Frank Norris? Well, he was the pastor of the First Baptist Church in Fort Worth for 38 years, and he also served as the pastor of Temple Baptist Church in Detroit for 13 years. During his time as pastor of these two churches, they saw 25,000 people join. Under his leadership, they had the two most attended Sunday schools in the world. He had a rough childhood. He was abused by his alcoholic father, which would influence him in his later years when he would fight against the liquor companies. As a teenager, he was shot protecting his father, who had abused him. He graduated from the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary as valedictorian of his class. During his time in the ministry, he had several major showdowns against leaders in the community, against businesses, many major showdowns. That was kind of a defining feature of J. Frank Norris, and I would like to tell you about a few of them. There was his war on gambling. When a mother wrote to Norris about her son committing suicide because he had lost a bet at a horse race, Norris went to investigate. He went to the Dallas racetrack. He took pictures and found out that the city made money off of the betting. So he published his findings, and it led to a long battle between the city of Dallas and Norris. And Norris ended up getting a senator and the governor of Texas on his side and won the battle, and they outlawed gambling in Texas. He also had many wars on liquor. There was one instance where the leaders in the community told him he had 30 days to leave town. He said, "I will give you 29 back. I'm not leaving." And so the people in the community, leaders in the community, began riling up the people, and which led to this big crowd gathering, and Norris went to see what was going on. And the police firefighters said, "I'll try to disperse this crowd," and nothing worked. Well, Norris showed up and began walking into the crowd. He trying to make it to the intersection where he could talk to all the people there. Well, as he was walking through the crowd, he bumped into this giant saloon owner. And the guy's like, "What are you doing here?" And Norris is like, "I'm here to talk to the people." And he's like, "Who are you?" He's like, "I'm J. Frank Norris." And the guy whipped around, pulled out a gun, and said, "Well, I came here to get the first shot." And he's like, "Follow me. If anybody tries to take you out, I'll blow a hole in them." And so he takes Frank Norris to the intersection. He's like, "Go ahead." And then so Frank Norris talked to the people, and they ended up all dispersing. And then that guy later went to Frank Norris's church and got saved and gave up the liquor business. He also had several wars in the church. He had deacons and a choir director who were involved with the liquor business or were drunks and stuff like that, and he had conflicts with them as he removed them from their leadership positions. And that wasn't some of the strangest stuff surrounding Norris. There was some failed assassination attempts. For example, there was a time where when Frank Norris was walking with a friend of his, he was attacked by gunmen, but his friend attacked the gunman first and was able to prevent him from shooting Norris. There was, in 1911, he had a big conflict with the mayor of Fort Worth. He was having a tent revival, and the mayor, W.D. Davis, decided that he was stirring up too much trouble and tried to shut the revival down. He demanded that the fire department go and dismantle the tent. Well, later on in life, the mayor would become repentant. He would, on his deathbed, he called for Norris to come and visit him. And he asked Norris if the people of the church would pray for him. He said that their prayers brought you through when I tried to take you out. Now I ask that they pray for me through this time. And he actually did recover and got saved and became a friend of Norris. Then there was also the case of the murder of D.E. Chips. Entzminger described that before the murder, Chips had been bragging that Sunday morning the Star Telegram will have front page headline, D.E. Chips kills J. Frank Norris. Well, Chips was right, except that the names would be reversed. Chips barged into Norris's office, threatened to kill him, and Norris tried to talk him down. However, Chips made a sudden move as if going for a gun, and Frank Norris shot him down with a gun that he had in his desk. Later on, according to Entzminger, the mayor was recorded as saying, "Poor Chips, I sent him to his death," indicating that this may have been another assassination attempt on Norris. Now I'd like to do a little bit of a comparison with the book God's Rascal, J. Frank Norris, and the Beginnings of Southern Fundamentalism by Barry Hankins. Who was Barry Hankins? Well, he's a professor at Baylor University. The publisher of the book was the University Press of Kentucky. And his approach to Norris is summed up in this quote. Sadly, in this book, one will find an important American religious figure who often exhibited an almost complete disregard for basic standards of civility and honesty, so much so that even other fundamentalists who agreed with Norris on virtually all issues could not long tolerate his antics. Hankins brought up the issue that Norris lacked some key Baptist values, one of which was having democracy. He said that Norris was very undemocratic. He said he ran his own congregation in the most undemocratic way imaginable. And Entzminger did draw some of this out in his book. He described instances where he removed deacons who were in sin from their offices. Often these deacons had tried to remove him for preaching against sin too boldly or for doing some other action that they did not like. And he was a bit totalitarian in his removal of them. They tried to remove him. He said, "No, you're removed." And so it just became of, back and forth. And Norris won these battles. And there was also instances like where he called the women's organizations within the church together for a meeting and said, "You're all dismissed." He saw them as not being soul-winning organizations, and so being unnecessary. He said they were more of gossiping organizations than soul-winning organizations. And so he moved all the effort and money to the Sunday schools, which ended up, as I have described, being some of the largest Sunday schools in the world. So Entzminger did draw out the points that there were some, which I found concerning when I read it in Entzminger books, where he would make decisions without any consultation, without any indication that he got the support of the people first. He just made the decision on his own, whether to kick deacons out of their positions or to end different organizations within the church. He just made those decisions himself, and everybody just had to live with it. There was some disagreement between the two books on the issue of consistency. According to Hankins, throughout the many issues Norris addressed, he exhibited tremendous consistency. When fundamentalism emerged as a viable and militant movement, roughly 1920, Norris was in his early 40s. In most respects, from that time forward, he displayed very little development in his thought and style. One can read his sermons from the 1920s attacking Roman Catholics and those from the 1940s attacking communists, and find him saying nearly the same thing about both groups. Entzminger had a different view of it. He said in his book, "Consistency is the virtue of fools, but not one of Norris's chief characteristics." Deep down in his heart, he is, I think, proud of his inconsistency. Many times he has had me going one way, and the next morning I found he had reversed himself and was going in the opposite direction. Entzminger also said that Norris's motto was, "Methods change every day, and the message never changes." So what's my conclusion on Entzminger's book? Well, it did show favoritism towards Norris. Entzminger did serve under him for many years. However, Entzminger was not above warning against others following in Norris's tactics. For example, he said, "But I would not advise any other preacher in the world to follow Norris's methods. Some few fools have tried, yes, just tried." And the book had some other flaws with it. It was fairly disorganized and a bit repetitive at times. I think this is mostly due to the fact that he, for the book, used sources like Norris's sermons. He would use entire sections of Norris's sermons as a chapter, or other third-party sources, other chapters from other books that he would use as chapters in this book, which kind of made a bit of inconsistency in the writing, the style, trying to figure out, is this Norris talking? Is this Entzminger? Is this someone else? It was a bit unclear and inconsistent in regards to that. So not the most professionally presented books. So what's my conclusion on the two books? Well, Entzminger does address some of the issues Hankins brings up, such as the undemocratic practices. However, Entzminger tended to overlook the deeper implications of such issues. There was also a bit of disagreement over, for example, the murder case. Entzminger left out the fact that, according to Hankins, Chips wasn't armed. However, Hankins also left out the fact, according to Entzminger, that Chips had been threatening to kill Norris beforehand. Both are fairly important information that the other left out. Alright, so do y'all have any questions, comments on this? I found it very interesting. Norris was quite the character. Some of his stories were just simply amazing and crazy and unbelievable. So I really did enjoy the study of Norris. I probably want to do some more reading on him in the future. So yeah, if you guys have anything you would like to add, anything you know about Norris, or any comments, or yeah, anything you have to add, be sure to put it in the discussion board. Let me know what you think, or the comment section down below on this video. Until next time, see you in class.